Hey guys, welcome to our next video in the Foundations of Elk Hunting series that we're running here on YouTube and on Facebook. If you guys haven't seen what we've been doing, what we're doing is we are showing you guys how we plan our hunts from year to year and trying to help you guys get into more elk. So we have come up with a way that we do it, and this is the cool thing about this is it's like a 365 day a year thing that you can do, and you can stay in your elk season all that time, and it's something that helps you use the best use of your hunting time. Maybe you only get weekends during the season because you got a job or you got to watch kids, you got to take care of family, and those are more important things than elk hunting, but elk hunting is very important too. So we want to show you how to utilize your time very well. If you haven't caught the first two videos, you probably need to go back. It's on a playlist. I'll include the playlist right up in here on the video. It's on the playlist. Just click on that playlist and go to the very first video and then work your way through this. And I will have them numbered so you guys can know which video is which. The reason I'm doing it that way is because, like with any system, you have to look and you have to be able to use the system to whatever you want to do for achieving your goals. So this is just the way my brain works. I think it's going to resonate with a lot of different people, and I think it's something very good. So in the last video, we showed you how to use Basemap. Basemap is the tool the major tool that we use to find our elk hunting spots, and we try to find new spots every year because that keeps it kind of interesting. If you go to the same spot every year, you get tired of climbing that same hill every time because you know what's on the other side. So we try to find different spots every year. Not only that, but it also gives you something to add to your quiver, so you're spending all of your time hunting elk rather than trying to find them. I'm using it for this video because I'm going to show you in this video how in the heck you hunt elk. I'm going to show you in this video how you find them by using the software. Before you even put feet on the ground, you can pretty much get assured that there's going to be elk where you're going. And then you have to put your feet on the ground, and that'll be the next video where you actually go out and take a look and see the sign and things like that. Now, one of the things that I have to do here is I'm using Crater Lake National Park because you can't hunt in it, because I don't want to ruin anybody's spots. Because what I'm going to show you is a lot of people's, if I was to show you this in the wilderness area, there would be a lot of spots that you could go to, and somebody's already figured this out through a lot of work, and I don't want to blow up their spots. So I'm going to do it inside of Crater Lake National Park where you can't hunt, but it's all the same stuff, you guys. It's all the same thing, and there's a lot of stuff that I could show you in the national park. Now, all the video clips that I add into this, they are from different places, okay? So understand that. Normally, if you were to do this, you would go into those places. I'm going to show you what it looks like in those places, and that comes from a lot of experience of looking over Google Earth way back in the day before we had like Basemap. I used Google Earth, but I'm going to show you what those places look like before when you get your feet on the ground. And then I'm going to also show you in our next video what you're looking for when you get your feet on the ground. Now, another thing is this form right here, I've created a form. It's called a scouting form. And if you guys look, this form will help you get your spots organized. Like, have you ever come up on opening day and not figured out what spot you're going to go to first? Well, I've created a ranking list, and you should have at least 10 spots opening day and number 1 to 10 through all your scouting. And this list will, and see, you guys, this is all the stuff that you're actually going to do when you scout, but this just puts it in front of you and gives you perspective. So I'm going to go back to the map here. So you could get that, hold on, you could get this over at thelifeoutdoors.com. Here, let me go over there right now. The video's up here as well, so if you don't want to go on YouTube, you can come over here and get them. But see, bow hunting elk course, and then of course, you know, this is going to play. This is our opening to the video. But as I put out these videos, I put these checklist out, and you can come and grab them. And you guys, these are absolutely free. Absolutely free. Now, if you do want to help us out, if you could go to our store and get a hat, and our soap, we are creating more soap as we speak, so I'm trying to get that out the door. But yeah, you can get one of our Life Outdoors hats, and that helps us out. All right, let's get back to this. Okay, so the first thing that I do is when I'm looking for elk in Basemap or Google Earth or any of the satellite imagery, the first thing that I'm going to look for is this. See the green? And I'm going to just go in on it, and you can see how much green there is by these creeks. Now this is in the middle of a dead fire area, and you can see the green trees in here. But I'm looking for green, and I'm looking for some of that kind of habitat that is diverse. You want diverse habitat. This is pretty diverse because you got all this forest fire, so you know that there's going to be, you know, food growing. Elk like a lot of what grows after a forest fire, so you know that that's going to happen. But it kind of looks deserty up here, right? It looks really hot and doesn't look like it's a real fun place for me to go in and look over. But the fact of the matter is there's a lot of green in there. And if you're hunting the Cascades, or even over Eastern Oregon, we look for the same thing. You're going to find that those little places are going to hold elk. Now, look, there's so much green here in the Cascades. How do you choose, right? That's one of the biggest problems with the Cascades is how do you choose the habitat that you think is going to work the best? Well, one of the things is if we go to our scouting form, you start looking. Now you just skip this part. I put it to the top because after you go through all this, you're going to be able to come back up here and you know, put your ideas down. So during our e-scouting, optimal habitat and probable elk habitat. So when you look through this, you understand that the best habitat is going to be, and you're looking at e-scouting, will be number 1. So the reason that I have it laid out this way is as you mark this, as you find the habitat, what's going to happen is the lowest number is going to rate the highest. It's going to be the closest to number 1. And then you go the next down and next down, and then when you add all these factors up down below, and then you go back up, and then you'll rank the spot according to the lowest number. And the reason that that's so good is now you're going to have 10 spots. You're going to have number 1 spot. That's where you're going to hit opening day. Okay, you guys following along? If you're not following along with this, if this is confusing to you, just go down below and leave me some questions, and I'll make another video to clear some of this up. Okay, because it seems pretty straightforward to me, but my mind sometimes works different than other things. So let's go back to the maps. Now we're talking maps here, so we're looking at e-scouting. Okay, and when I'm talking e-scouting, what I want to do is I'm going to find spots that when I'm e-scouting, and I'm going to rate them. Now, when I look at the e-scouting, after I show you guys what I'm looking for, you guys could go through and make a bunch, like 10 different spots here. Name your spot. You can even position it, but put a name to that spot. And then rate it in your e-scouting, and then go to those spots and boots on the habitat, boots in the ground. And then that way you'll be focused, and you're not just walking through the woods looking for a spot. You're actually going to spots that you know would probably hold elk. And so your time is of the essence. I mean, that's the biggest thing, is making sure that you're using your time to the best that you can. Okay, once I found a green spot, and this is a perfect one. This is, see, there's green there, green there. There's two creeks coming here. There's a place kind of where it looks like these creeks come from, and then you got a basin that looks like in here. Now, we don't know all that until we switch it. So once I found my green, then I go over here to my layers tab. Here, let me exit out of this and I'll show you what it looks like. This is your toolbar over here. Again, if you haven't seen the last video, go click on it. But you hit the layers tab, and then you can move to, I like the topo outdoors, and you can move to topo. Now look at topo, now has created something, a whole nother view for us, because if we look at this, we have a drainage here, we have a drainage here, and then we have a drainage here. And then if you look, this is kind of benchy in here. So this, to me, one of the cool things about this is, if you look at this slope here and you got a drainage, what is that slope? That's a north-facing slope. That means that the sun's not going to be on that slope near as much as say this slope over here. So you know that elk are probably going to be down in these green spots during the evenings and during the night and early morning, and then they're going to come back up here and they're going to bed. Now elk, especially when it gets to be rutty, you know, when they're starting to really rut, they want to bed close to water. I've actually had elk bedding in like little alder patches in the water because it got so hot. They were actually sitting in the water as they bedded down and rest for the day. Another thing that they like is, and we're going to go back here to, you can use Google Topo, but it gets a little busy for me. It shows up pretty good right there, but if you look, it gets really busy when you zoom in. Now, the cool thing about this, man, I wish we could hunt the park because I would be all over this. So if you look at this, the cool thing about it is you got this little drainage here. This is all a north-facing slope, and it's a pretty steep slope. That's pretty steep. And when you look at that, that's got to hold elk. Now, one of the cool things is about the topo, when you switch back and forth, see this bench in between these two drainages? Elk love those kind of places. Another thing about this is you can tell is if you look, this is right around that 5,400 feet, and this is going downhill. Oh no, going downhill this way, 5,200, and then up here is 5,700. So that is a really big canyon that's going down through there. So when you go down through that canyon, understand that these little feeder draws are doing the same thing, and that's coming from 6,000 feet down. So this would be a spot that I would mark as prime habitat because of the north-facing slope, having a creek where the there's probably wallows and stuff up on this creek, having a creek on a north-facing slope, and then having all this food and this big bench, and this big bench down here. And this bench down here also drains into, so you know there's water there too. I bet you there's elk all over this, you guys. So let's take a look again at the imagery. See how this bench is in there, your north-facing slope, it drains down. So that is a complex system right there. That is a hugely complex system. That's exactly what you're looking for when you're getting on the ground. Now, I'm going to show you what this place looks like here. When you guys go into this green stuff, there's going to be, that's North Fork Castle Creek, but when you zoom in on your maps and you see these dead trees laying down in here, you know that that's not covered with that big buckbrush, because sometimes that'll throw you. You'll think, oh man, that looks really, really good, and then you get in there because it's really green, and it's all buckbrush. And let me see if I can find a spot like that. I don't want to get out of this, but usually right next to rock outcroppings is where the buckbrush is. But one of the dead giveaways is if you got trees sitting up on top of the green, you know that that's like prairie. And I guarantee you go up into this North Castle Creek up in here. Oh, look at there. That's trees. But you go up into here during the right year, and there's going to be water, and there's going to be wallows, and there'll be elk wallowing in that stuff during the rut. Look at that. I guarantee you there's going to be elk all over that. So that's what you're looking for. The green is that kind of stuff. And then when you start looking at bedding grounds, because that's where I actually shoot most of my bulls, is in the beds. We usually we'll get in on them in the morning. Maybe we'll find them over here eating. They like to eat on those south-facing slopes because the sun puts a lot of nutrients in that grass. So they'll eat on the south-facing slopes. And so a lot of times in the morning we'll catch them still out eating in that south-facing slope stuff. And you can tell what the south-facing slope grass is because if you look here, see how yellow it's turning? And that yellow grass actually holds more nutrients than this deep green. They go down in the deep green because they like the water, and there is some grass in there, and there's some other forbs that they eat. But they'll be feeding in this yellow stuff. And then you'll get on them in here, and they'll be bugling, and they're like, they'll bugle and get away from you. And as they go through, they're just making their way up to the bedding, and you're thinking, man, I'm chasing this bull off, and back in the day, I would just set up there and I'd try to call him into me and he'd just keep walking off, following the cows up to their bedding. But nowadays, I don't do that. I follow them. So I follow them right to their beds, and that's where we hunt them a lot of times. That's when he stops. And once he's stopped, then he is pretty vulnerable because you check your wind and you can pretend like you're a bull coming down on him because the bull's always going to try to come upwind of him. And because the other bull, when they challenge, they're going to try to smell the other bull. And it's just an advantage, and especially if you're coming downhill and upwind of him, which you usually are because of thermals, that bull will feel vulnerable, and he'll either do the flight or fight thing. If you've done your work right, he's going to fight every time. Very rarely do they just take off. Very rarely, because if you've done your work right, if you've turned up the intensity level, if it's taken that amount of time. You guys could watch our video. Watch the video of we killed a bull. It took us 4 hours to kill a bull. You can watch that video on YouTube. And it was the only reason that bull came in is because we played him really, really slow. Big bulls that have a big harem don't want to leave those cows. You have to break them. You have to make them come to the point where they're so mad that they're willing to do anything to come over and kick your butt. But knowing your areas, you would know. So if that bull's coming across here, this is another good reason to have Basemap, is because you can look at this stuff before you ever get into the spot. If you know those elk are going to come across, they're probably going to follow the creek up, and then they'll hit. Here, let me switch to topo. And then they'll hit they're going to follow the creek up, and then they'll hit the north slope. So they're going to follow the north slope, and they're going to get on that slope right in here. They're going to get on that slope, and they're going to go to their bedding ground. They're going to come up, and they're going to go to their beds. And so that you're probably just going to chase them across here. But you want to chase him, and you want to keep bugling. You want to keep moving him across. And he's going to keep giving you locating bugles. You're going to give him locating bugles. If you could get in front of him a little bit and pester him a little bit and make your bugles a little bit more aggressive, that'll turn up the heat. And he's probably not going to come back to you in here. Very rarely do they. He'll probably come down and either come across, and they probably have a spot where they cross every time. In these canyons, that's a little bit easier for him, probably like right in here. And he'll cross, and then he'll come up here and he'll start bedding. That's when, if he starts and he stops in a spot up there, that's when you got to really check the wind, get above him, and come down on him, and really put the pressure on him. And that's what'll get him to move out of those beds and come in. We've had this happen several times on us over the past few years, and it's pretty neat. So hopefully you guys, that helped you. kind of finding spots on Google Earth. So what you need to do is download the sheet, the scouting form, start looking at your spots, and this will focus this is hyper focus for elk hunting. And I will upload this to the website, but get your spots, put your name in for your spot, and then start rank. Don't rank your total rank yet. Start rating your e-scouting ranks, and then start going in, and I'll show you in the next video what we look for when we go in with our boots on the ground. And this, you guys, this is what will make your elk season a whole lot better, because you could do all this right now. Summertime is the time to do it. All right, guys, hopefully that helped. If you do like any of what you're getting here, please like and subscribe. Hit the bell for our next video. All right, thanks a bunch.